The gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Tipton, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Ms. Secretary, thank you for being here, and I appreciate the comments you've made so far today. Did want to bring up some local issues for us in Colorado. Had the opportunity to be able to visit with some of our local housing authorities, and in Colorado they've been indicating that it seems that HUD has a one-size-fits-all approach to its guidelines. One program I've heard to be particularly challenging for some of the smaller housing authorities is the Real Estate Assessment Center program. They've been suggesting that the inspection guidelines are stringent, difficult to be able to meet, especially in physical inspection demand by the staff who need to be able to visit multiple scattered sites. The GAO recently released a list of recommendations to be able to improve the physical inspection program process and oversight for the inspectors. Has your department reviewed some of these recommendations and considered including them into the execution of the program?
Yes, and this is an area that has really captured my interest because, you know, I was so interested when I came in and found people getting passing REACT scores in places that I wouldn't want a dog to live in, and vice versa. It just made absolutely no sense, and it was so inconsistent. So we're doing a top-to-bottom analysis of the whole REACT scoring process, changing it. We have, you know, moved out some of the inspectors who had questionable character, and brought in another host of inspectors, but we're also looking at the way that we do the procurement of the inspectors. Before, you know, you would take the lowest bidder always, and sometimes you get what you pay for, so you obviously have to be cognizant of that.
Great. Thank you for that. And I'd like to be able to get your opinion just in regards to regulations, their flexibility. Do you think you have enough flexibility to be able to accommodate large and small operators as well as urban and rural areas?
Well, we always would like more flexibility. There's no question about that. It gives us a lot more ability to move quickly and to be able to do things. But, you know, we will manage with what we have.
Well, and I appreciate that. That's really one of the challenges. We obviously have legislators from urban areas represent a rural area. And so some of the distinct differences between it being able to accommodate and to be able to be responsive, to be able to meet those needs, I think is very important. You know, I've heard from some of my constituents that programs like the Housing Authority scoring system don't account for important considerations like individual market conditions. Have you given thought to making a more geographically driven approach to some of the regulations?
I'm always in favor of local control and not heavy-handed federal bureaucracy. So, you know, if you have some specific suggestions about things that we should be doing to make that even more available, I'm very happy to work with you on that.
Thank you, and we will follow up with you on that. We're trying, I like you, to be able to have it locally driven as best we can to be able to meet those needs at home. And so we'll be happy to reach out to you in your office. And Ms. Secretary, just one last question. One worry that we have heard on the board in Colorado is that all areas of government, we're seeing federal dollars that are allocated for state distribution that do not make it out of the metropolitan areas into the rural areas. A lot of the grants, they'll go to our states. Unfortunately, sometimes they stay just in the large metropolitan areas. Do you see a better way to make sure that we're reaching all of the constituents and not discarding people that live in rural America?
Thank you for mentioning that. One of the reasons the opportunity zones were left up to the governors in each of the states is so that they could target some of the rural areas. As a result of that, about 40% of the opportunity zones are in rural areas, so I think that's going to be a tremendous help. Manufactured housing is also a big item in rural areas, twice as much as you find them in suburban and urban areas. So anything that we can do to enhance the manufactured housing industry is going to be helpful for the housing situation in rural areas.
Great. Thank you again for being here. I'm out of time. I yield back.